The refrigerator hums in a dim kitchen, and a woman stands frozen in front of it, staring at the pale glow of light bleeding through the crack in the door, trying to decide which leftovers she can stretch into one more meal. The countertop behind her is covered in crumpled grocery receipts, each one a little more painful than the last. Each one proof that the same bag of food that cost $50 3 years ago now costs nearly $70. Outside the window, the streetlights flicker over a quiet suburban neighborhood where every third house has a for sale sign slowly tilting in the wind, abandoned by owners who could no longer keep up with payments. This is not a scene from a disaster movie. This is Tuesday night in America in 2010-6. Right now, 57% of American adults say they are living paycheck to paycheck, meaning the moment their income stops, even for a single week, the entire structure of their lives begins to collapse. 43% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense from their savings, which means a single flat tire, a single broken bone, a single unexpected bill can push a family into a spiral of debt that takes years to escape. The median household has just $8,000 sitting in a bank account. And that number sounds almost generous until you realize that a single month of rent, groceries, and utilities in most American cities devours that entire sum like it was never there at all. Total household debt in this country has hit $18.8 trillion. An all-time record, climbing by $191 billion in just one quarter alone. Credit card debt specifically has surged past $1.3 trillion, with the average American carrying between $6,500 and $6,800 in revolving balances, paying a median interest rate of 25.3%. 111 million Americans are currently carrying credit card balances they cannot pay down, a 17% increase in just 5 years. Food prices have soared nearly 35% since 2019, and ground beef alone jumped over 21% in a single year. Housing costs have risen over 14% in just 2 years, and a record half of all renters now spend more than 30% of their income just on rent and utilities. The personal savings rate, which averaged 11.7% through the 1960s and 70s, has plummeted to historic lows, hovering near levels not seen since 2005. Meanwhile, 48% of Americans report feeling more financially stressed entering 2200 than they did entering the previous year. 72% experienced some type of financial setback in 2005 alone. In this video, we are going to tear apart the invisible machinery that is silently draining your bank account to zero, examine why this is happening now and not 20 years ago, and most importantly, show you the exact mechanisms you need to understand if you ever want to break free from this suffocating cycle. So the first question you need to ask yourself is not how do I save more money, but rather why does it feel physically impossible to save anything at all? The answer begins with something economists call the lifestyle inflation trap. And it is far more dangerous than most people realize, because it does not feel like a trap at all. It feels like progress. Imagine you get a raise at work, say an extra $5,000 a year, and within weeks, your brain has already allocated that money to a slightly better apartment, a slightly newer car, a few more dinners out, a streaming subscription you tell yourself you earned. That $5,000 vanishes before it ever touches a savings account, and what is worse, your baseline cost of living has now permanently increased, meaning you now need that extra money just to maintain what already feels normal. This is not a failure of willpower. This is a neurological pattern hardwired into the human brain called hedonic adaptation, where every new level of comfort becomes the new floor, never the ceiling. Corporations understand this better than you do, and they have spent billions engineering products and payment structures that exploit this exact vulnerability. The invention of buy now, pay later services is a perfect example because it removes the psychological pain of spending by splitting a purchase into small, invisible installments that your brain processes as essentially free. The subscription economy is another masterwork of extraction because a single charge of $14.99 per month feels negligible, but the average American household now carries 12 to 15 active subscriptions, silently draining between $200 and $300 every single month, which adds up to over $3,000 a year that most people do not even consciously register spending. Credit card minimum payments are perhaps the most elegant trap of all, because they create the illusion that you are managing your debt while the 25% interest rate quietly doubles your balance over just 3 years. The entire financial architecture around you, from the layout of a grocery store to the algorithm that serves you targeted ads at 2 in the morning, is engineered to make spending effortless and saving feel like punishment. And this machinery has become exponentially more sophisticated in the age of smartphones, because every app on your phone is essentially a portal to instant frictionless spending with a single thumb tap. But the lifestyle trap is only the visible layer of this problem. And beneath it lies a much darker structural force that most Americans never think about because it operates at a scale too large to see from ground level. The real engine driving the savings crisis is the historic decoupling of wages from productivity, a phenomenon that began in the early 1970s and has been accelerating ever since. Between 1948 and 1973, worker productivity and worker compensation rose almost perfectly in lockstep, meaning when companies made more money, workers genuinely shared in that prosperity. But starting around 1973, those two lines diverged like a cracked windshield spreading in slow motion, with productivity continuing to climb while real wages essentially flatlined for the next 5 decades. Adjusted for inflation, the average American worker today earns roughly the same purchasing power as a worker in 1978, despite the fact that worker productivity has increased by over 60% in that same period. That gap, that enormous canyon between what workers produce and what workers receive, has been absorbed almost entirely by corporate profits and executive compensation. Chief executive pay has risen over 2,200% since 1978, while typical worker pay has risen just 15% in the same time frame. This means every year you work harder, the economy grows bigger, but your slice of the pie stays the same size, while the pie itself has tripled. Meanwhile, the cost of the 3 pillars that define middle-class life, housing, education, and healthcare, has exploded at rates that make general inflation look tame by comparison. The average cost of a home has increased over 400% since the 1980s, while median household income has barely doubled. College tuition has risen over 1,200% since 1980, creating a generation drowning in $1.75 trillion of student loan debt before they even begin their working lives. Healthcare spending per person has risen from approximately $1,100 in 1980 to over $13,000 today, and a single emergency room visit without insurance can generate a bill larger than most Americans have in their entire savings account. These 3 costs alone can consume 70 to 80% of a middle-class household budget, leaving almost nothing for the savings and investment that previous generations took for granted. And here is the part that nobody wants to say out loud. The system is not broken, it is working exactly as designed, because consumer spending accounts for roughly 70% of gross domestic product, which means the entire economy depends on you spending every dollar you earn and then borrowing more. Every institution around you, from banks to retailers to social media platforms, profits when you spend and loses when you save. Your bank earns almost nothing when you keep money in a savings account at 4% interest, but it earns enormously when you carry a credit card balance at 25% interest, which means your bank has a direct financial incentive to keep you in debt, not to help you build wealth. Let me tell you about Marcus, a 34-year-old electrician in Columbus, Ohio, who earns $62,000 a year, which puts him right in the middle of the American income distribution. Marcus works 50 hours a week, has not taken a real vacation in 3 years, drives a 12-year-old pickup truck, and considers himself a responsible spender. His rent is $1,400 a month. His truck payment and insurance run another $480. His groceries for himself and his daughter cost roughly $600 a month. Utilities and phone run about $300. His student loans take $290. His daughter is in daycare, which costs $900 a month. And his health insurance premium through his employer still runs him $340 after the company contribution. When you add those numbers up, his essential monthly expenses come to $4,310. And after taxes, his monthly take-home pay is approximately $4,100. Marcus is $210 short every single month, before he buys a single cup of coffee, before he puts a single dollar into savings, before he handles a single unexpected expense. He is not irresponsible. He is not living lavishly. He is simply a working American whose math no longer works. Now, multiply Marcus by 111 million, because that is how many people in this country are carrying credit card balances they cannot pay off. Each one stuck in their own version of the same arithmetic nightmare. Then consider Diane, a 58-year-old nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, who has worked in healthcare for 31 years and earns $78,000 annually. Diane should be approaching retirement with confidence, but instead she lies awake at 3 in the morning calculating how many more years she needs to work, because her retirement savings total just $41,000. She had $90,000 saved in 2020, but a combination of her mother needing assisted living care, her own emergency surgery, and the inflation spike that hit groceries and utilities wiped out more than half her nest egg in just 4 years. Diane is not an exception. She is the rule, because the average retirement savings for Americans between 55 and 64 is just over $500,000, which sounds adequate until you realize that healthcare costs alone in retirement can consume $250,000 to $300,000 of that. For the median household in that age group, the number is far worse, sitting at just $71,000. A Harvard study found that medical bills are a contributing factor in over 60% of personal bankruptcies in the United States, making America the only wealthy nation where getting sick can literally destroy everything you have spent a lifetime building. The delinquency rate on all outstanding household debt climbed to 4.8% in the fourth quarter, the highest since 2017, which means millions of people are not just struggling to save, they are actively falling behind on the debts they already owe. And the psychological toll of this financial pressure is devastating in ways that spreadsheets cannot capture, because chronic financial stress has been clinically linked to elevated cortisol levels, disrupted sleep patterns, weakened immune function, and significantly higher rates of anxiety and depression. A study from the American Psychological Association found that money is consistently the #1 source of stress for Americans, outranking work, relationships, and health concerns. When you cannot save, you lose more than money. You lose the ability to think about the future, because your entire cognitive bandwidth gets consumed by the urgent math of surviving the present month. This is what researchers call a scarcity mindset, and it literally reduces measurable cognitive function, creating a vicious cycle where financial stress makes you worse at making financial decisions, which deepens the financial stress further. So what do you actually do when the system itself is designed to keep you spending? The first and most important step is radical awareness, meaning you track every single dollar you spend for 30 consecutive days, not to punish yourself, but to see the invisible leaks that are draining hundreds of dollars a month without your conscious knowledge. The second step is to automate your savings before you ever see the money. Because if you rely on willpower alone to transfer money into savings at the end of the month will always consume it first. Set up an automatic transfer of even $50 per paycheck into a separate high-yield savings account on the same day your paycheck arrives, and treat that money as if it does not exist. The third step is to attack the subscription trap by canceling every recurring charge and then only resubscribing to the ones you genuinely miss after 30 days of going without. Most people discover they do not miss 80% of what they were paying for. The fourth step is to understand the difference between an interest rate that works for you and an interest rate that works against you. Because parking your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5% is the exact same mathematical force as credit card interest, except now it is compounding in your favor instead of against you. The fifth and most critical step is to reject the cultural narrative that spending equals living, because the entire advertising industry spends over $700 billion a year globally to convince you that happiness lives on the other side of your next purchase, and every piece of data we have shows the opposite is true. People with financial security consistently report higher life satisfaction than people with higher incomes, but no savings. The number in your bank account is not just money, it is measured freedom, measured options, measured peace of mind, and every dollar you save is a vote for the version of your life where you make choices instead of reacting to emergencies. This is not going to be easy, because you are fighting against a 50-year structural trend and a multi-trillion-dollar consumer economy that profits from your financial fragility. But the alternative, The path of drifting along, hoping things will somehow improve on their own, leads to a very specific destination. And that destination looks like Diane lying awake at 3 in the morning, or Marcus realizing he is $210 short before the month even begins. The choice is not between comfort and sacrifice. The choice is between short-term discomfort now and long-term devastation later. Every empire in history that allowed its middle class to be hollowed out eventually collapsed under the weight of its own inequality, from Rome to the Gilded Age to the conditions that preceded the Great Depression. The question facing America right now is not whether ordinary people can learn to save money. The question is whether the structures of this economy will allow them to. And until that larger question is answered, the only power you have is the power to see the trap clearly, to name it, and to build your own small fortress of financial resilience, one automated transfer at a time. The refrigerator is still humming in that dim kitchen, but now you know why the receipts keep getting longer. Now you know why the math stopped working. And now, maybe for the first time, you know exactly where to start fighting back.